If honesty leads to conflict, people stop sharing. Emotional safety determines how deep love can actually go. Let's talk about it right after this.
Let's talk about love and marriage the way that God intended. Life experience, here we share it. The Low Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. Podcast. We'll help your spirit transform.
Hey, we're going to be honest right from the front. I'm sleepy.
Why are you sleepy?
I'm sleepy because I just finished eating and I am sleepy.
Oh, so you have the itis.
Yeah, I actually do. But here's the thing, though. I am sleepy, and so does that mean that my energy is high or low? And does that cause, because we're recording this show, this episode, can it potentially cause conflict? Because I am grumpy or potentially grumpy, not interested, disinterested, have nothing to say or whatever it is. So is that potential to cause conflict? What do you think, Kyle?
I don't know, because I'm, I guess, a little bit different when I'm sleepy. I want to be close. So I may not want to talk. And if I listen, I may fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's a little bit different. But if your mind is, hey, I'd rather be doing something else, then yeah, that could cause conflict.
And so in that, and I'm using this as an example of how things have happened in our own lives, that not being honest about what's going on. So as I'm saying to you, I'm sleepy, I just finished eating or whatever, but hey, you know what, Maurice, I really want to record, while we have, momentum, while we have the energy or whatever the situation might be. So I'm like, all right, Kyle, let's go do it. But do I always want to tell you what's really going on? Because I want to make sure that you feel good or we accomplish something that you want to accomplish or whatever it is. So do I always feel secure and safe in speaking how I'm feeling in the moment? Because I don't want to disappoint. And how does that backfire in some cases? Whether if I tell you how I really feel and I don't want to do it, what is your attitude?
Mm-hmm.
And then if I do it and then I'm not really into it, how is your attitude? Because you could tell, right? But at the same time, I'm not really into it. So how, and I understand that I'm saying to y'all something that doesn't sound as harsh as it could be, but it really can be because of the energy or whatever it is. I want y'all to know, I really am sleepy. I really am sleepy right now, but I'm not in a situation of, I don't want to do it because I understand the value of what we have going on. And I also understand the value of honesty of, hey, Kaf, I know I'm sleepy, but here's the reality. I understand also what it means to you, right? Let alone what it means to all of you out there that's listening. And but how does that cause conflict, in a relationship? And I think that's the stuff that sometimes we pull back our honesty because we want people to feel safe and secure or whatever it is, but it can actually work in a reverse.
Yeah, it can. Like I said, depending on how you think that honesty will make me feel, or the lack of the honesty will make me feel. So you may choose how you proceed differently,
Right.
And guard it. And me on the receiving side, I may see that you're guarded, or I can see that, you have an attitude, what I mean? So then I get an attitude, and,
Right.
Then we're both upset and miserable, or, what I had anticipated the time to look like and feel like is not being achieved, and then how you wish the time would be used is not being fulfilled. So we're both unfulfilled.
Right.
And we're both unsatisfied. And that doesn't make for good mental health.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make for a good friendship. It doesn't make for good emotional safety. And you have to feel that you're in a safe place in order to be vulnerable. So if you don't have that safety because of the attitudes, then you're not even feeling comfortable enough to say, hey, I didn't appreciate the way things went down.
Right.
I wish you would have just told me that you weren't up for it. I didn't appreciate the way things went down. You knew I was tired. You should have respected that. So it starts, with communication, I think is the way to go, but it's all about, in addition to the communication, that level of safety and that level of respect need to go and be a part of that equation as well.
I'm struggling a little bit because I know in years past, we didn't know how to address safety, right? And sometimes the way we might have voiced it, the way we might have brought it out or whatever it is, because it almost comes off as if we're angry or abrupt. Because I could think of a lot of different times when we felt that way, and that's how it was presented. And that also, i.e. being a tone, right? Idea of being a tone, where we're like, oh, well, screw it. Well, did you not ask me the question? All right, so you don't like the answer or the response or whatever the situation is. It's like, well, can you at least present it in a more friendly way, more loving way, because then maybe I can receive it differently. So now again, because of my tone, mostly it's mine, because of my tone, now you don't feel safe or secure. Now you're like, I should have never shared, right? But sometimes, again, being honest of saying, hey, you know what? It's not really what you said or whatever it is. It's my processing, and my manner of processing did not come out the right way. And I think those are things that has hindered as well, of being honest. Because now you're like, all right, well, I don't want to be upfront because, one, are we going to feel secure one way or another? Because you want to protect your own sanity, right? Let alone protecting that other person's, right? And then the way you say it is like, well, daggone it. And again, full transparency of, sometimes both Kafa and I have expressed, there have been times where both Kafa and I expressed something and the other person took it so far another way, misinterpreted the whole situation. And Kafa and I just had a conversation about that not too long ago, about the perceived idea of how we might have felt about some exes in our lives. And sometimes it's not so much the memory of the individual or whatever it is the I know for myself, it's almost like, wow, like I'm really past that point in my life. I'm at another level. Like, you get what I mean? Like, what I thought might have been good at such a young age, right? Look at where I am 30 years later, right? And so, but here's the thing. If I don't express that to Kafa, then her response will be like, well, dag, like, what did she do that I didn't do, right? Or what did she feel or express or smile or hair or perfume or like, if I don't express to her just what I'm really going through or what I'm thinking about, then what you perceived as being honest is still not the full picture of what's going on. And now that causes more conflict as well, because again, you're not going to say all, that whole three chapters of the book that runs through your head thought wise. And now that causes conflict. And you're just because of that one little glimmer, that one little smile or whatever it is. And now it's like, well, did I really want to say that? Did I really want to share? And I think those are some of the things that when we talk about being honest and telling our truth, sometimes that truth might just need to be a lie. Just keep it to yourself. I'm sorry.
Again, I think, like you said, hey, what is the past, and what did we have going on at that particular time? And for Maurice and I, our previous, we met when Maurice was 19. So when you talk about previous relationships, you're talking fairly young, So what did those relationships feel like and mean to us as 19, 20, 21-year-olds, as you look back upon those, means something totally different when you're 40, 50 years old,
Ain't 50 yet.
So with that, I often, I look back at my children who are at the age, they're beyond the ages where Maurice and I met. And I'm like, no. You know what I mean? Like, how could I have thought that, that was a real relationship? Like, my kids ain't nowhere at 18, 19 years old. And I know that, things say, the Bible says, like, people get weaker and things like that. But I just feel as though, like, hey, yeah, 18, 19, 20 years old wasn't a true committed relationship or anything like that. Even though, yes, when I was that age, I thought, hey, this was a relationship. But there were so many limits to that because, hey, I lived in my mom's household. Hey, I didn't have a real job or whatever the situation may have been. I didn't have bills and all the other responsibilities that you have as an adult and have to manage and maintain. So those that I dated at that particular time didn't have those responsibilities either. So we weren't mature enough to even know how to do adulthood, let alone how to do a true relationship. So being open and honest about, well, where were we at those times, is the true part I think we need to understand. And I think that goes a long, long way. So just knowing yourself a little bit,
right?
Knowing who you are and reflecting upon that goes far.
And I think that goes to ideas of role playing or whatever. When we tried to do stuff like that, and like, hey, well, can you listen to it from this perspective? And then when you do, you're like, oh wow, like, all right, I hear you. But now if I were to respond, like if you were my real friend, quote unquote, like friends like I didn't care about, and my response could be vastly different. And so sometimes you get frustrated, you be like, yo, you gotta choose your ex versus what you got. Because I know the situation, sometimes the ex might sound a little bit better than what you got. Or vice versa. Hey, that situation that that you're referring to, unless you're really, really, really listening to what's really being said and not the stuff that's surfaced, can make a difference. Because sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, sometimes my friends be talking about certain things, and I can't sit here and say that I have been always in a position of listening at 100%. Like really, really listen to what they're saying. It's almost like I'm listening to respond, versus what I've had to learn with Kafi over the years is to listen to be present.
Right.
I think that's the big difference. because go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say, I think one of the points, as you're pulling out is listening helps to build like trust in the relationship.
Right.
A lot faster than listening to fix it. You know what I mean? I think that's something that Maurice and I have really had to work on. Like, I'll come in from work and he's like, how was your day? And I kind of unload on him like, okay, well, this happened and that happened and whatever. And he's coming up and calculating ways to fix my issue as my husband, as my knight in shining armor, as my, provider, my guardian. Like, he's like, hey, this is how you fix that situation. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. You could do this, and this. And I'm like, well, I just kind of wanted to share what my date was like.
But in that, though, here's what happens, though. Unfortunately, there have been times where I know I've had to pull back and say, you know what? Kafa is not Maurice. Mm-hmm. Kafa will never say certain things that Maurice will say, ever, right? There's a lot of people that won't say what I would say or how I will respond because people cannot always handle the response back. Like if you're going to say X, and somebody responds X, now you need to do X, Y. It's not just a Y, but it's now X, Y, and maybe Z to end it or to squash it or to go another direction, whatever it is. You need to be prepared for that. And sometimes, people can say, hey, you know what? I know if that was me in that situation, that would never be me. Yeah, you know why it wouldn't be you? Because if you were in that situation, you're going to either do, you're going to be quiet, you might be flabbergasted, or because you're like, hey, now I'm going to blast off, and now you're fired, right? Versus cooler heads, and 9 times out of 10 prevail a lot more. And just listening to, so if you sit back, even like we're talking about relationship right now, being married, but even if you look at your relationship from a job perspective, if you just sit back and listen to what in the world your coworker is saying, right? Manager, boss, whatever you want to call them, that individual. And you sit back and really listen like, you know what? You ate a big bowl of Wheaties this morning, right? And evidently somebody pumped gas in your car, your little tank in your little behind, and evidently you got the energy today. You didn't have it yesterday. So what changed, right? And so now I need to really assess a little more about what the situation really is. Maybe that person is more under the gun to get a project completed. Maybe that person is, a little more on edge because they, in their relationship, had the biggest argument this morning. So, again, you have to understand, like, hey, everyone has something going on. So, like Kafa saying, she's coming in to unload. She's like, Maurice, you don't understand. Like, my day was hard. So, sometimes, and I got to sit back and listen, like, oh, get over it. Versus here, here is where what the answers are. You get what I mean? Now, some people might say, well, Maurice, you don't sit there and hug her and say, hey, everything's going to be okay. No, because that's not Kafa. Kafa's too mean for that.
I'm not too mean.
Why are you looking at me like that? Why are you squinting like that?
Because I'm not mean.
Don't let the soft, subtle, gentle voice fool you. Don't let it fool you. Okay, maybe she's not mean. She has a very direct
moments. Yes.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah.
I will agree full-heartedly with that. Wholeheartedly. Yes. I have mean moments. But don't we all?
Yeah, but some moments can be a little more,
extreme mean.
Yes.
Okay. I'll go.
But I will say because again, you're listening to the individual, you're trying to give them benefit of the doubt. And then once they cross that line of benefit, I doubt that they want the real response. But I would like for y'all to understand that sometimes without the emotional safety, sometimes without the, listening and the understanding, that couples cannot survive in those situations. Some, that whatever else. So the idea is that you really want your relationship to, be fruitful, multiply. No pun intended. But you really want to thrive in this environment because it's a lot of crap going on right now. It really is. And so, right now is the time to really come together to be as tight as you have ever been, because all of us are being tested one way or another. So I hope that each and every one of you understand that, hey, you know what? These things really do matter.
So Maurice,
moving forward.
Before we go, I have one question for you.
Yes.
You know how we end a question, the podcast off with a question with our guests, but my question for you is, is our relationship, does it make you feel safe? Do you feel safe enough with me to be honest with me?
You want me to answer that right now?
I know. It's something to think about.
Okay.
So.
Well, I want y'all to think about that for yourselves too. Are you in a position do you feel safe enough to be honest? Or are you honest to be safe?
Think about it.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for listening. Let us know what your thoughts are.
And also, if you're, if you can, please send this episode to someone that's looking to build deeper communication in their relationship, because that's what we're talking about. This whole series is talking about communication. We're just coming from it from a different perspective.
Deeper.
Deeper.
That sound monstrous.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow.